Hello, my name is Liam SR and welcome to a video where I'm going to be talking about some real historical accounts of werewolves, hence the wolf mask. Did you like it? I hope you did. So if you've watched me before, you know I don't really tend to, sit around. I'll just get into it. So first we'll have Peter Stubb, the Werewolf of Bedburg, 1589. So I'm going to just read little clips of this, little bits, and sort of get to where we need to go. So the part of Germany where Stubb lived has been laid to waste during the Cologne War between the Catholics and the Protestants. Citizens at the time were being killed, and rumours began to circulate about a wolf-like creature roaming around and killing both people and livestock. It was described as greedy, strong and mighty, with eyes great and large, which in the night sparkled up like brands of fire, a mouth that was great and wide, most sharp and cruel teeth, and a huge body with mighty paws. People began to live in increasing fear of the creature, travelling in heavily armed groups when they had to go from one town to another, and each newly discovered victim would only increase the fear of the townsfolk. Attempts were made several years ago to capture and kill the monster, but with no success until 1589, when a group of men managed to track the creature down and encircle it with their dogs. When the hunters closed down, they found not a wolf, but Stubb himself. It's not clear whether the townsmen actually saw Stubb transform, or if he was just in the wrong place at the wrong time. So they essentially heard about the wolf, chased the wolf supposedly with a gang of dogs, men and dogs. Obviously, a man can't outrun a dog, so they finally outrun the creature, and when they found where it ran off to, they found the man instead, Mr. Stubb. So there's your first account. Second account, we have Giles Garnier in 1573, the Werewolf of Dole. It reports that Giles Garnier lived outside the French town of Dole and was essentially a hermit. A while after Garnier's residence began, children from the town began to disappear or turn up dead, mutilated and dissected. Local law authorities concluded that it must be the work of a werewolf and encouraged the citizens to be on the lookout for and to hunt the werewolf. A group of men near Dole were doing just that when they spotted what appeared to be a werewolf looming over the body of a child. When they came close enough, they saw that it wasn't a wolf, but it was the hermit Garnier. Likely after torture, he confessed at his trial, saying that he was visited by a demon which had given him an ornament that would turn him into a wolf. It's weird because you find in a lot of these stories, it's sort of like they talk about meeting the devil and signing away like the ability to turn into a werewolf, or they're given like an ornament, a necklace, like a piece of like jewelry or a piece of furniture, which actually started the, is it lycancy, which turns them into werewolves. But it's always a sort of similar thing. They talk about the same stuff, either getting given something or meeting the devil himself, who makes them become a werewolf. So this story is not just one, but numerous. It's the Werewolves of Poligny from 1521. And the story involved a group of travellers passing through a French town of Poligny who was attacked by a wolf. Well, they were attacked by wolves. A traveller fought the beast, wounding it and causing it to flee. The man followed the blood trail left by the injured beast, and it led him to the door of a house in which a woman was binding her husband's injured arm. The traveller was suspicious and he reported the entire incident to the authorities, who captured the man and began to torture him. The man was Michael Verdun, who confessed that he was in fact a shapeshifter. He also confessed to murder, cannibalism and trafficking with the devil's help. Lastly, he named two other men who were also shapeshifters, Pierre Bergot and Philibert Monteau. The two named who were brought in for questioning, and Bergot confessed also to shapeshifting and to committing some other heinous crimes. Bergot claimed later that the deal included renouncing God himself, the one he made with the devil, and that he received an ointment from Verdun which allowed him to shapeshift. And the two men jointly killed at least two different children. It's not known for certain if Monteau also confessed, but it is known that all three men were executed at the same time. So we have the Wolf of Ansbach, 1685. So we're going a good nearly 200 years in the future for this one. So in Ansbach, Germany, there was part of a Holy Roman Empire. The district was faced with an actual wolf, which was killing and eating livestock, and eventually made the step up and began to kill people. Terrified citizens were convinced that it was not a wolf, but in fact a werewolf. But the wolf was really one of the town's former mayors, who was never named in the accounts, but is very clearly disliked by the townspeople, who had come back from the dead in the shape of a wolf. A hunting party went after the wolf with a number of dogs and drove the wolf back into the well where it was killed. The citizens still firmly believed the animal was a werewolf. They cut off the wolf's nose, put the mask of a human on it and dressed it in men's clothing and hung it from a pole, presumably as a warning to other werewolves who might consider that this area is a good hunting ground. Now, that's kind of badass, don't you think? That they were like, oh, there's a big humanoid wolf. Like, you know, I think of a werewolf, I think, I'm not going to go near that. It's a big, massive, hulking, like, man wolf. These people were like, no, we're going to go and find it, take it to where it come from, kill it on its own ground, we're going to kill it where it was born, we're going to just cut its face off, put a human face on it, and we're going to hang it up as like a trophy. So imagine like a gang of werewolves are like strolling around in leather jackets, the hair slicked back like an old grease gang, like greasers. They all walk up like, hey, what about this town here? They walk up, and now there's Tony, your old mate from primary school, hung up with a human face. You're like, nope. But we'll skip this time. We'll go over to the next one. Kind of badass though. Like, it's very rare in like werewolf stories you hear humans being fucking sick, but happens. Next, we have 1598, which was Jacques Roulet, the Werewolf of Angers, which I think is in France as well. What information is known about Jacques Roulet comes from an 1865 account from Sabine Baring-Gould. Reportedly in 1598, some men had come upon the mutilated body of a boy in the woods. Two wolves were spotted tearing at the body, but took off as the men approached. The men had begun pursuing the wolves, following the bloody tracks until they had lost them. At the same time, the men spotted Roulet, bloody and half-naked, crouching in the woods nearby. Roulet was captured and arrested. He confessed to the murder and said that had a salve which turned him into a wolf. He further said that the boy wasn't his first crime and that he had killed and eaten many other people. Roulet's confession was considered unusual, as there was no evidence that he gave under torture. He made no claims to witchcraft or of having made a deal with the devil. He was convicted of murder, cannibalism and lycanthropy and was sentenced to death by execution. His case was appealed and he ended up being deemed feeble-minded. He was instead sentenced to undergo religious education for 2 years and sent to a mental asylum. So imagine you were one of these people in this asylum and a man comes in and they're like, what are you, I'm mentally insane, what are you in here for? He's like, I'm a werewolf and I've killed many people. The law knows of it, but instead they put me in here with you. So if I turn into a werewolf, unlucky, because you're locked in here with me and everyone in here is locked in here with me, the werewolf, who killed many people in this mental asylum. Perhaps God can help me. Now, I'm not going to sit here and claim that I have seen a werewolf, because I haven't. I've never even heard a werewolf. I've never even assumed I've heard a werewolf. But here's a little weird story. Once, when I was with one of my ex-girlfriends, we were walking to the shop by my house, my old house. Like, the area looks different now than it did at the time. But there used to be sort of like a big fenced-off car park area. And there was like a weird back alley that goes around the back of this area. But there was like sort of a good gap from the road where the people were and this little area. So we're walking along to go to the shop. And in this like alleyway area is like a little white creature looking thing. It wasn't a cat or anything like that. It was like skin. It was like really, really white, pale skin. And it's like squatted down. So I'm like, what's that? I see it, like I look at this thing for a good minute, like it's like sitting there, it's like squatted over like this. I'm like, what's that? Like, don't know. Let's go and have a look. So I walk over to it and I'm sort of getting near it. So I'm like, shout over, at the thing. And it like looks over. It didn't really have like, I can't really describe it. It was like, it didn't have like a human face. It was like big eyes, a weird nose, like pushed in nose. Ears like pointed back, like back flat, and it sort of like scurried up like a fence, like trying to get over it and got stuck at the top for a few seconds. And I'm like looking at this thing, it's like up there clawing, it eventually topples over and like grunting and then runs off. I'm sat there looking at my girlfriend, I'm like, did you just see that? Did you just see that thing? And she's like, yeah I did. I'm like, what was that? It didn't look like a hairless cat. It didn't look like an injured dog. It had like hands, like little hands. It like clawed up. It was gone. Honestly, sent me green. Like every time I walked the shop, I'd look at that area. Is it there? Is it there? Am I gonna see it again? I used to sleep with my window open. It was shut. Every night it was closed. I'm not risking that thing going, He's up there, can smell him, bang, climbs in my window. Next thing, we're having 12 rounds, boxing, me and this little white creature. But thanks for watching, guys. I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you want to see more things like this, then please let me know. Obviously, this channel at the minute is just a smorgasbord of all different things that I like and I enjoy talking about. But if you want to hear more like this, werewolves, vampires, Bigfoot, cryptids, I have an amazing passion for this kind of stuff. I will talk about it more. Not so much horror films, more like this, like, what's the word? Cryptozoology, like cryptozoology. If you like that, comment down below. Say you want to see more, I will give you more. I've been Liam SR. Thanks so much for watching. Bless up. Mwah.